Peter Pan. There once was a house in London where a family named Darling lived. There were Mr. and Mrs. Darling and their 3 children, Wendy, John and Michael. Watching over the children was Nana, the nursemaid, who also happened to be a dog. It was to this home that a most interesting visitor came on one magical starry night. His name was Peter Pan. Peter Pan chose this house for one very special reason. There was people there who believed in him. Not Mr. Darling. He only thought about businesses and the importance of being on time and dressing properly. But Mrs. Darling was still young enough at heart to believe that Peter Pan was a spirit of youth. Then there were John and Michael. They knew how to fight off pirates, whoop like Indians, and march like soldiers. To them, Peter Pan was certainly real, and they made him the hero of all their games. But the expert on Peter Pan was Wendy. She knew everything there was to know about him. On this particular night, after Michael and John had drawn a pirate map on their father's shirt front, Mr. Darling angrily declared, "Children need to grow up." Then turning to Wendy, he added, "This is your last night in the nursery, young lady. And there'll be no more dogs for nursemaids in this house," Mr. Darling included, as he marched Nana outside, where he tied her up for the night. That's how it came to be that when Mr. and Mrs. Darling went out to a party later that night, Wendy, Michael and John were left all alone asleep in their room. A certain boy and his pixie, Tinkerbell, took advantage of the moment and slipped in through the nursery window. The Darlings' nursery was a familiar place to Peter. He liked to sit in the shadows and listen to Wendy's stories. The hero of these stories was always Peter Pan, of course, but on his last visit, Peter had been separated from the shadow. Tonight, he had to come and get it back. "Well done, Tink, you found it," Peter cried when Tinkerbell discovered his shadow, but the shadow was in no hurry to be following Peter again. The moment he opened the drawer where it was hiding, the shadow took off, flitting and skittering around the room. Peter charged after it, making such a racket that Wendy woke up. "Peter Pan, I knew you would come," Wendy cried. Then she ran to get her sewing basket. "I saved your shadow for you. It needs sewing on. That's the proper way to do it. Oh, Peter, I'm so glad you came back tonight because it's my last night in the nursery," she added. "But that means no more stories," cried Peter. "I won't have it. Come on, we're going to Neverland. You'll never grow up there." "John, Michael, wake up. Peter's taking us to Neverland," cried Wendy. "But Peter, how do we get there?" "Fly, of course, it's easy. All you have to do is think of a wonderful thought and," said Peter, shaking Tinkerbell, "add a little bit of pixie dust." "We can fly!" shouted Wendy, John and Michael as They followed Peter and Tink out the nursery window. They soared over the rooftops of London and past the great clock tower of Big Ben. Peter laughed with glee as he pointed up into the sky. There it is, Wendy, Neverland. Second star to the right and straight on till morning. From high up in the sky, they finally spotted the land of their dreams. "Look, John," cried Wendy. "Mermaid Lagoon and the Indian camp," yelled John. "There's the pirate ship and its crew," added Michael, all twinkly with excitement. "It's just as you told us, Wendy." "Oh, Peter, it's just as I have dreamed it would be," Wendy smiled. The captain of the pirate ship was a nasty fellow named Hook. "Blast that Peter Pan." No. He had only one dream in his life, to destroy Peter Pan. "Blast that Peter Pan," said Hook as he studied a map of Neverland. "If I could only find his hideout, I would trap him." Captain Hook got his name because he had a hook where a hand should be. And who was to blame for that? Why, Peter Pan, of course. Hook had another enemy too, the crocodile. He was terrified of the creature. He's been following me around for years, licking his chops, said Hook. And he had had you by now, Captain, if he hadn't swallowed that alarm clock. Now, when he's about, he warned you with his tick-tock, tick-tock, said Smee. "Peter Pan ahoy!" cried the lookout. Instantly, Captain Hook forgot about the crocodile. "Swoggle me eyes!" he cried, looking through his telescope. It is Pan." Ordering his men to load the cannon, Hook fired away. "Quick, Tink!" shouted Peter as the cannonballs flew by. "Take Wendy and the boys to the island. I'll stay here and draw the pirates. Fire!" Tinkerbell took off at once for Peter's hideaway, but she purposely flew too fast, leaving the others far behind. "Tinkerbell, wait for us! We can't keep up with you!" yelled Wendy and the boys. But Tink didn't want to wait. Peter Pan had hardly looked at Tinkerbell since Wendy had come along. Tink didn't like it one bit, and now she had a plan. Tinkerbell zoomed ahead, flying into an opening in a tree where the Lost Boys and Peter lived. Jingling in her pixie language, she told the boys Peter had sent her with a message that there was a terrible Wendy bird headed their way. Peter's orders were to shoot it down. The Lost Boys hurried out from their hiding place. "I see it!" yelled Shunk as he and the others placed stones in their slingshots. "Ready, aim, fire!" shouted the boys. Suddenly rocks were flying everywhere, hitting Wendy and sending her tumbling from the sky. Luckily, Peter Pan arrived just in time to catch Wendy. "Peter, you saved my life," said Wendy, throwing her arms around him. "I bring you a mother to tell you stories," Peter angrily told the Lost Boys. "And you shot her down?" But Tink said it was a bird," stammered Cubby. "She said you said to shoot it," added Rabbit. Tinker Bell, said Peter, you might have killed Wendy. I hereby banish you forever. For a week then, declared Peter. Wait, please, begged Wendy, feeling sorry for poor Tinker Bell. Not forever. For a week then, declared Peter. Taking Wendy by the hand, Peter flew off to show her mermaid lagoon. John and Michael wanted to explore Neverland too, but had no interest in mermaids. They wanted to see Indians. John, you be the leader, declared the Lost Boys. Then lining up behind him, they marched off into the forest. As they marched along, the Lost Boys and John made a plan. They would be very clever and capture the Indians. It might have worked too, except for one thing. The Indians caught them first. Michael and John were very frightened until the Lost Boys explained how things worked. When we win, we turn them loose. When we win, they turn us loose. But this time the Indian chief wouldn't set the boys free. He thought that they had kidnapped his daughter, Tiger Lily. You tell me where you hid Princess Tiger Lily, the chief said, or we'll burn you at the stake. Meanwhile, Peter was showing Wendy the beautiful mermaid lagoon when he suddenly spotted Hook and Smee rowing by in a small boat. Tied up in the back was Tiger Lily. It looks like they are heading for Skull Rock, Peter whispered to Wendy. Let's see what they're up to. Sure enough, Hook was holding Tiger Lily prisoner in Skull Rock. Tell me the hiding place of Peter Pan, and I shall set you free. Hurry before the tide comes in, Hook demanded. Peter was ready to rescue Tiger Lily. I'll show the old codfish. Stay here, Wendy, and watch the fun. Then he drew his dagger and challenged Hook to a fight. Hook slashed at Peter. Peter jumped away just in time. Then Peter pinned the captain, but Hook broke free and fought Peter to the very edge of the cliff. I have got you this time, Pan, he cried. Peter backed away from Hook. Hook followed. Ah! He went tumbling off the cliff. I'll get you for this, Pan, he yelled. Then, as he fell towards the water, Hook heard a familiar sound. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The crocodile was waiting. I say, Hook, grinned Peter Pan, do you hear something? The crocodile swallowed the captain, but the terrified Hook fought furiously and jumped right back out. Smee! Smee! Hook screamed as he tumbled into the boat. Row for the ship! Row for the ship! While Smee rowed as fast as he could, Peter swooped down to save Tiger Lily and fly her back home. The Indian chief was so happy to see his daughter again that he freed John, Michael, and the Lost Boys. Then he placed a headdress of beautiful feathers on Peter Pan, proclaiming Peter Pan chief little flying eagle. Wahoo! Yelled Peter. Oh, how wonderful, said Wendy. Bravo, added John. But there was someone who was not joining in the celebration. Poor Tinker Bell was all alone without Peter or his friends, the lost boys, and she wasn't happy at all. And that's just how Smee found Tinker Bell all alone, sitting by herself. Begging your pardon, Mrs. Bell, said Smee, catching Tinker Bell in his knit cap. But Captain Hook would like a word with you. The captain wanted a word, all right, several of them. We sail in the morning, he told Tinker Bell, if she would only tell him where Peter's hideout was, why he would take Wendy to sea with him. With her gone, Peter will soon forget his mad inflation. Sick with jealousy and loneliness, Tinker Bell fell for Hook's evil plan and showed him how to find Peter's hideaway. At Peter's hideaway were all cozy and quiet. Wendy acted as a good mother should, was tucking the boys into bed. As she did, she sang to them about the wonders of a real mother. By the time Wendy had finished her song, John and Michael were so homesick that they wanted to leave for London at once. Even the lost boys wanted to go, but not Peter. Go back and grow up, he said stubbornly. But I am warning you, once you're grown up, you can never come back. But no one was listening to Peter. They had only thought on their minds a mother to love them and hold them and sing them to sleep at night. One by one, the boys left Peter's hideaway, only to walk right into the arms of the waiting pirates. Now to take care of Master Peter Pan, chuckled Hook, as he lowered a beautifully wrapped package in the hideaway. Knowing what was in the box, Smee asked, wouldn't it be more human-like to slit his throat? Aye, laughed Hook, but I have given Tinker Bell me word not to lay a finger or a hook on Peter Pan, and Captain Hook never breaks a promise. Tying his prisoners to the mast of his pirate ship, Hook warned them, join us or walk the plank. Never, declared Wendy. Peter Pan will save us. My dear, said Hook, you left a present for Peter, a sort of surprise package. I can see our little friend at this very moment reading the tender note to Peter with love from Wendy. Could he but see within the package, he would find an ingenious little device set, so that when it is 6 o'clock, he would be blasted out of Neverland forever. Hearing Hook's evil plan, a desperate Tinker Bell knocked over the lantern where Hook held her prisoner. Crack went the glass. Tinker Bell were free. Off she fell to try and save Peter. Back in his hideout, Peter Pan picked up the package and was just untying the bow when Tinker Bell flew in. "Hi, Tink," said Peter, holding up the box. "Look what Wendy left." Tinker Bell tried to pull the package away. "Stop that!" yelled Peter. "What's the matter with you?" There was no time to explain. Tink flew at the box, pushing it as far from Peter as she could. The gift began to smoke, and then kaboom! The explosion was so huge it rocked the pirate ship. Hook removed his hat and bowed, and so passes a worthy appointment. Smiling, Hook turned to the captive children. "Where will it be? Join me crew or walk the plank?" Wendy spoke up bravely. "Captain Hook, we will never join your crew." Hook gave Wendy the most gentlemanly bow. "Ladies first, my dear." With tears trickling down her cheeks, Wendy walked the plank, one step, then another, closer and closer to the edge, until finally she jumped. Now it was the pirate's turn to quake with fear. "Captain," said Smee, "there's no splash. The ship's bewitched." The men began to wail, but it wasn't a ghost who had come to haunt Hook. It was Peter, along with Tinker Bell, who had escaped Hook's bomb. Now he had come to save Wendy. "This time you have gone too far," shouted Peter Pan as he flew onto the rigging. "This time you have gone too far," shouted Peter Pan as he flew up onto the rigging. Hook scrambled up after him, then drew his sword. "Take that!" cried Hook as he lunged at Peter, forcing him off balance. "I'll run you through." Peter quickly flew out of Hook's way, cutting this way and that with his dagger. "You wouldn't dare fight an old Hook man to man," taunted the captain. "You would fly away like a coward sparrow." "I'll fight you man to man with one hand behind my back," crowed Peter, as Wendy, John and Michael and the lost boys fought the pirate crew. Hook took a powerful swing at Peter, but the captain lost its balance. Down, down, down fell Captain Hook to face his worst fear. The crocodile was waiting, and his mouth wide open. The last Peter, Wendy, John, Michael, all the lost boys heard of the terrible Captain Hook was his cause for help. "Hooray for Captain Pan!" screamed all the children. "All right, ya swabs," said Peter Pan to his brand new crew. "We're casting off." But, Peter, stammered Wendy, "could you tell me, sir, where we're sailing?" "To London, madame," said Peter. "Michael, John, we're going home." Wendy smiled. Hoist the anchor, cried Peter to his crew. Tink, let's have some pixie dust. Tinkerbell flew all around the ship, sprinkling her magic dust as she went. Then up went the ship, and as it rose, it began to glow like gold. Wendy, said Mrs. Darling. She was gently shaking her daughter, whom she had found asleep by the window. Oh, Mother, we're back, announced Wendy as she woke. Back? Asked Mr. Darling. All except the lost boys, explained Wendy. They all weren't quite ready to grow up. It was such a wonderful adventure. Tinkerbell and the mermaids and Peter Pan, we sailed away in a ship in the sky. Mary, said Mr. Darling, not sharing Wendy's excitement at all, I'm going to bed. But as he turned to leave, Mr. Darling paused to look up into the night sky. There was, crossing in front of the moon, was a ship made of clouds. You know, said Mr. Darling, I have the strangest feeling I have seen that ship before, a long time ago when I was very young. And indeed he had.